Broadcasting live from the Courtside Studios, it's Courtside Monday with Chris Burkhardt, bringing you all of the latest news and stories from Rip City. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Welcome into Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you. Having a good time dancing. Probably realized I was on YouTube and I'm probably going to just get absolutely burned in the chat for my bad moves. But we were listening to Nobody Speak by DJ Shadow. That's the intro song for those of you who don't know. Michael Shagger hadn't heard it. He's like, "What is this?" It's the song they play at Moda Center. They play just that drop of the break. Yeah, like that's the best I can do. Yeah, see, like boom, boom, boom. They play that drop like before tip. So now you know where it comes from. It's the iHeartRadio did a very good job because it is a highly censored song. But it just makes me think of the Blazers. Courtside Monday, Blazers, boom, all comes together. If you want to join the conversation with me today, Chris J. Burkhardt is the name on social media. And of course, you can go to youtube.com. You can grab your phone, 503-248-0620. Or, last but not least, you can hit us up on the Riv City Radio text line 88528. Have some fun there. We're going to breeze through this thing, have some fun. Joining us here in about 15 minutes, Tori Jones of Blazers Uprise. We're going to battle a little bit because we have differing views on Toumani Camara. I guess I'm going to lose the battle if I can't even speak. Toumani Camara. I don't necessarily think Toumani has been awful this year. I think there's a lot of variables as to why his defense may look a little suspect. I know that Tori does not believe that. He thinks his defense has taken a step back, and we're going to have a good debate. We're going to have a fun conversation about it. That and plenty other things, because I know there's plenty that he likes as well. I mean, how can you not like this team? I mean, Denny Avdia absolutely playing outside of his mind as of late. The team's been good. The record has not. The Blazers have lost a little bit more than they've won as of late. Not the best results. Some games have been snooze fests. Some games the team has put it all together and looked incredible. You look at that game on Sunday. That was yesterday. For those of you keeping track on the calendar, they didn't get the win over Oklahoma City, but they looked great. They looked great. They had a chance to win it. They fell apart late. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just went off and hit a couple mid-range shots over Toumani Camara. And the Oklahoma City Thunder flexed on the Blazers late when they needed to. Well, there's a reason the Oklahoma City Thunder are 20-1. Best team in the NBA. Next best team is Detroit Pistons, number one team in the East. They have 4 losses. Keep in mind, though, the one in 20-1 is your Portland Trailblazers. Never forget that November 5th comeback, Bill Walton's birthday, and my birthday, for those of you counting. It was a good game. But the Blazers also have games where they lose against the Spurs when they don't have Victor Wembanyama. They lose against the Suns and the Bulls and the Mavs, games you would kind of hope they win. Of course, that Bulls game, they had a good chance. You guys remember the Nikola Vucevic three-pointer, boom, game over, buzzer beater. Blazers become the first team, I think it was, in a calendar year to lose on 3 buzzer beaters. 3. Lost in one like a week prior to that to Orlando. Desmond Bane, boom. So they've had good games. They've had wins. They beat the Warriors twice. They beat the Bucks, even though the Bucks didn't have Giannis. Oh, they beat the Bucks without Giannis. That's nothing. Yeah, well, they lost to the Spurs without Wemby. Granted, the Spurs without Wemby are a much different team than the Bucks without Giannis. Point is, there's been ups and downs this season. One of the ups, though, has definitely been Denny Avdia. You look at this game against the Oklahoma City Thunder last night. I mean, he absolutely went off. 31 points, 19 rebounds, 10 assists. His 19 rebounds were the most rebounds he has had as a member of the Trailblazers. It was just one off of his career high. Very good. Also, the 30-point triple doubles. I mean, I saw a stat like one of the first players whose first four triple doubles of their career were 30-point triple doubles. Like that's incredible. He's been in absolute rarefied air with the people that you put into these categories with him. For instance, his 31 point, 19 rebound, 10 assist game, he became just the fourth player in the NBA this season with multiple 30-point triple doubles. The other three, Nikola Jokic, Cade Cunningham, and James Harden. Now, Cade and James each have two, like Denny Nikola has three, but that is some elite company to be in. You're putting up absolutely elite numbers. Denny also is the third player in Trailblazers history to record 500 points, 100 rebounds, and 100 assists over the first 20 games of the season. The only other two to do it, Clyde Drexler, who did it 3 times, and Damian Lillard, who did it twice. I mean, when you are in a category with Nikola Jokic and you're in another category with Clyde Drexler and Damian Lillard, you're playing pretty darn good basketball. So he has been absolutely on a tear. On a tear. Love to see it. Only bad part is when you get 30 point, 20 rebound triple doubles wasted because you can't beat the Thunder. Was it wasted? Because you could also argue that you needed that triple double to be in contention. And they were in a good spot in that game until the fourth quarter when Oklahoma City just flexed on them, right? So that's part of the game. I get. In that game, it was nice that the rest of the lineup kind of showed up, which hadn't been the case in some of those games. That loss against the Spurs, Denny showed up, and no one else really did. In the game against Oklahoma City, the whole team showed up, and then they almost got another upset victory. Final score in that game, 123-115, and it was all that fourth quarter where the team really, really pulled away, the team being Oklahoma City. But, man, that's one thing through this early year that has been spot on, and there's no way of getting around it or arguing otherwise. Denny Avdia has been the MVP of this team. I was hoping that the MVP of this team would be Shaedon Sharpe. I hope that he'd have that massive jump and be the guy. And he's played well, don't get me wrong. But Denny has been special. Special. And you love to see it. It's good basketball. He's working his way to an all-star berth. That's wonderful. Damian Lillard has to sit there going, oh, boy, I can't wait till next year because playing with this guy is going to be nice. Right now, Denny averaging 25.8 points per game. That's 15th in the league. So no slouch there. The triple doubles are coming along. The rebound numbers are huge. I mean, to go in there and get almost a 20 rebound game. We had talked about how that team needed to rebound. They needed to have big numbers. I didn't expect that it was going to be Denny Avdia doing almost all the work on the glass. Donovan Clingan was out, so no DC. Someone needs to step up. But overall, Denny's been incredible. And again, we'll talk about it, but that Tumani Kamara, I think he's been better than people think. I don't think he's been terrible. I don't think he's been playing as good as last year, but also there's a lot of lineups where he's out there with Chris Murray and Caleb Love, and okay, like what are you gonna do in that situation? Nothing. Like you're gonna struggle. You're gonna be the only guy. Like that's part of it, and boom, it is what it is. So I'm not too upset about that. I think it's going to be good to get Tori in here and have a good little debate about what we've seen this year, what he likes, what he doesn't, what I like, what I don't. Because I think there's been plenty to like, but there's also been plenty to not like. That's for sure. I think this team's good. I think this team is just a couple injuries away from being better than their record shows. Now, you look at what's ahead. This road trip, we're going to talk about that later in the show. It's going to be tough. Obviously, you got Toronto, who's a good team. You got Detroit, who's the best team in the East. You got Cleveland. But the schedule starts to ease up, especially once you turn the calendar to 2026. And the other thing that's going to happen is the injury bug is hopefully going to let up a little bit. You're going to get Scoot Henderson back, hopefully within the next month. That's huge. You're going to get Drew Holiday back soon. That's huge. You have no point guard on this team. What about Matisse Thybulle? You get him back. You get an all-world defender off the bench. Blake Wesley will return at some point during the year. His injury a little bit longer after breaking that bone in his foot. But you're going to get him back too. When you get those guys back and you keep playing the same way you're playing, you're going to start winning, especially when the schedule lets up. When you have more games against the Pelicans than you do the Thunder remaining on your schedule. Things are good. That's exactly what you want. All right, we're going to take a quick little break here on Courtside Monday. When we come back, Tori Jones of Blazers Uprise will join us. And again, we're going to have a nice little debate about what he's liked, what he hasn't liked. And of course, talk plenty of more Blazers. All right here on your home of the Blazers, River City Radio, 620.
Now back to Courtside with Chris Burkhardt, live from the Coors Light Studios. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Welcome back into Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. And, of course, you can text us at 88528. But now it is time to welcome my guest for the day, Tori Jones. You can follow him on Twitter at Tori Jones YT. The YT stands for YouTube because I'm sure you guys are fans of Blazers Uprise. Tori, welcome back in. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, man, it's always awesome to sit down and talk hoops with you, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though we're going to differ a little bit today, and a good debate's okay. Because I know, judging by your social, we differ a little bit on Toumani Camara. I do want to talk about that. But before we get to that, I know they're third in the NFC West right now, but isn't this okay, has this been a good coaching year by Kyle Shanahan, considering he's played most of it with his backup quarterback, no wide receiving core, and the tight end missed half the year?
I'll say it's a good coaching year from him. I actually just went down and watched my first Niners game in Levi's Stadium a week ago, so that was a super cool experience. And, yeah, I mean, when you have what seems like half your roster out due to injury and you're still 9-4 and you're making it work with a backup quarterback and Mac Jones, who I dare to say might have looked better than Brock Purdy this season, I'll say Kyle Shanahan has done a very solid job there.
Oh, so that was your first game ever at Levi?
Yeah, I hadn't been to a NFL game since 2013. Seattle was not a fun experience as a Niners fan, being there on the road as a Niner fan up in Seattle. So it was nice to go to a game in San Francisco.
Oh, that's cool. So I know you're a Niner fan, as am I. And my dad is why I'm a Niner fan, lifelong Niner fan. And it was like Father's Day 2019, so right before COVID hit. I got him tickets on Father's Day to take him down. We went down to Levi Stadium. He's a lifelong Niner fan, never been down. It was quite the experience. I love San Francisco, love getting down there. So I'm glad you got to go, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. It was the stadium. Not sure how I feel about the stadium, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
I'd probably rather watch a game at Busted Candlestick if it were still around, to be honest. But you know what? Being at a Niner game is cool. Now let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's talk Blazer basketball, man. I just got done talking about them a little bit. They're sitting here right now. They're 8-12. The injury bug has been biting them again. I think the schedule will ease up. They'll start getting some guys back. They'll start winning some games. But before we talk about the future, let's talk about what we already know. I want to know from your perspective, you got a good basketball mind. What have you liked and what have you not liked through these first 20 games?
So I've loved the play of Deni Avdija. He's blossomed into a true legitimate all-star, and I think if you had all-star voting right now, he would be an all-star, which it's always the hardest thing to find that next star coming out of a rebuild phase, especially when you don't get draft lottery luck, which the Portland Trail Blazers have not. Instead, they get their star by just trading 2 first-round picks. One was the 14th pick a couple years ago, and one might be a late first-round pick in 2029. And out of it, they have this 6'9" supercharged forward that's averaging 26 points, 7 rebounds, almost 6 assists. That move has been by far my favorite move that Joe Cronin has made, and he looks like a true foundational piece of this franchise, and his play this season has been awesome to watch. Love how hard he plays. Love how hard he drives. I love that when he ends up shooting 23 free throw attempts, it's because he's driving hard and not falling to the ground like, say, Gilgeous-Alexander. So I love Deni Avdija's play so far this season. On the flip side of things, I've been a bit frustrated with the defense. The defense has taken a step back. Last year, the Blazers ranked 13th in adjusted defensive rating. This year, it's all the way down to 19th. And, yeah, they've missed some pieces, not having Drew Holiday, not having Matisse Thybulle, not having Blake Wesley. That has hurt this defense, but you still have a ton of defensive-minded players. You still have Toumani Camara. You still got Donovan Clingan. He's one of the best rim protectors in the league. You got Jeremy Grant, Deni Avdija. Those guys are solid defensive players as well. And even some guys at the end of the roster, Sidi Sissoko, Chris Murray, those guys, their best trait is supposed to be what they can bring on the defensive side of the ball. So the fact that the Blazers have been below average defensively has been my biggest disappointment of the season.
Okay, and that's absolutely fair. I think part of that too is just the fact that they're playing a little bit different. The half court offense feels boring and the same as ever, but the way they push that tempo and they force a lot of possessions, it's like you saw last night in that Oklahoma City game. They get beat sometimes when they're just not paying attention. I mean, the reason that Oklahoma City went on that quick 8-0 run to start the fourth quarter, as I mentioned in the postgame show, I was like, if you were playing pickup ball, you'd call it cherry picking. Like they didn't have to try. Get a rebound, throw it out. There's a guy, no defense back there, and that gets frustrating. And I get where you get to with like Tumani Kamara, because you can funnel down to those last late game situations. In that game against Oklahoma City last night, multiple possessions, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hit those mid-range shots over him. You go back to the beginning of the season, Anthony Edwards hit that eventual game winner over him as well. I would argue that at times I feel like he's not getting enough help from those other guys and puts himself on an island because he's exerting so much energy. But I would also agree that he doesn't look like he did last year. And so any gripes that you do have with him are definitely not without a good argument behind it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think Tamani's biggest struggle defensively so far this year has been mostly off the ball. He, of course, gave up that game winner to Nikola Vucevic, where he helped into the paint when he shouldn't have. The Blazers were up 2, and the only thing that beats you is a 3, and he left a good three-point shooter.
Which thank you, real quick, before you continue. Thank you for pointing out that it was him, because sometimes Twitter wants to be so quick to hate on Denny that they crucified him for missing the assignment, and it was clear that it was Tumani's guy.
Yeah. In that situation, you're up 2. You don't want to help at all. You stay out on the shooters if somebody drives into the lane, and if they beat somebody one-on-one, you live with that because you're going to overtime. So that was on Tamani. There's just been some possessions this year where he's a bit out of position off the ball, and I almost think there's just times where he tries too hard to make a play. And he's very capable of making plays, drawing offensive fouls, getting deflections, all that stuff. But I think it becomes a little bit of an issue when you start chasing it, when you start kind of focusing too much on the ball and less on your man. And I think there's just been instances where Tamani's trying too hard to cause havoc, and he gets beat because of it or loses track of his guy. I mean, there was a play last night against Oklahoma City Thunder where he switched on to, I believe it was Chet Holmgren, and didn't go with him to the rim, and Chet Holmgren got a wide open dunk out of it. So, Tamani plays really hard. It's not really an effort issue for me with him. I just think there's times where maybe he's trying a little bit too hard instead of just being solid. I also think, against OKC last night, they had 4 possessions in a row where they scored on him, and I thought it was fine defense. Sometimes you have to tip your cap to the offensive player, especially a team like OKC who has a ton of guys that can make plays. Sometimes, even if you play good defense, you can't stop guys. So I almost wonder if he's getting a little too worn out, especially with picking up players so far in the backcourt. The game against San Antonio, he was guarding De'Aaron Fox, who's maybe the fastest point guard in the league, and he's trying to pick him up 94 feet, and he's getting hit with a screen in the backcourt and trying to recover, and that's just at the start of the possession. So I think, there has been some tough spots that he's been put in trying to pressure, pick up 94 feet, where maybe it would pay dividends to be a little bit more conservative with him and have him conserve his energy a little bit more and just try and be a little bit more sound defensively.
Tori Jones joining us. You guys can follow him on social at Tori Jones YT. And again, the YT stands for YouTube. You guys go over there and make sure you're watching him on the Blazers Uprise channel. Now, Tori, I like what you say there, because there's a lot of people who point to the fact that he got paid and, that's the letdown. And I don't think it's the putting it on cruise control because he got paid. I almost think it's trying to prove to himself and other people that he deserved to get paid and goes a little too hard. It's all motor all the time. I think when you're that good of a defender, like look at all the best defenders that we've seen in the league. I think like Matisse Thybulle, I think is a good example on your own roster. Like he knows when to hit the brakes and let off the gas and play within himself and not try too hard. And that's why he's an all-world defender when he's healthy, unfortunately. And I think Tumani can be there again. You're right. Like your point of just going so fast all the time, picking up full court. Like there's a reason that the other teams don't pick up full court all year, and then all of a sudden in the playoffs they do, right? Because you can't sustain that for 82 games. It's hard. It's a hard ask on anybody, let alone the one guy who wants to do it all the time.
Yeah, 100% agree. So, and he's not the type of guy to let a contract to get him to stop playing as hard. Playing hard's in his DNA. He's not DeAndre Ayton, who's going to sit here and say, "I was just trying to make it to my second contract." So, it's not an effort issue with Tumani Kamara. So, some guys in the past couple of years, there's been times where you can question their effort, and that's always the part that gets frustrating as a fan. But with Tamani, I don't think it's effort at all. I don't think he's coasting because he got paid. And I think he'll figure it out ultimately and get back to being the all-defensive player that we know.
Now, last time I had you on was the offseason. I think we were talking about the draft and prospects because I know you love diving into that. And we were talking a little bit about Chauncey Billups. Well, that has completely changed and flipped on its head. Now I saw your tweet during the game, and I'm right there with you. Sometimes Tiago Splitter, the challenge button is like a game, and he doesn't do the challenges aren't the best. Outside of the challenges, though, I want to get your take. What have you thought of Tiago Splitter through the 19 games he's been thrown into being head coach here?
Yeah, so outside of the challenges, which he just needs to delegate to somebody else. It's tough to evaluate a coach taking over a team where it wasn't like he had the off season and preseason to set up his own system. Now he was a big part of the new offense that they've been running. So he is a legitimate part of what they're running, but it's kind of hard as a coach to put your imprint on a team when you take them over after game one. And I don't really know what to think of him so far. They've had some good moments. They've had some bad moments. They've been very up and down this season, but this is kind of what I expected of them under Chauncey Billups. So it's kind of a non-answer, but I still think we need much more time to evaluate him as a coach properly.
No, that's an absolute fair answer, Tori, because I always argue like people got on Billups for being a first-time head coach, and then there's other people who want to get on Tiago for being a first-time NBA head coach, but they're not equal because one was hired to be the head coach, so came in with a plan. One was hired to be an assistant. His job was going to be the offense and working with bigs, and now you're working with everybody. You're the guy. That's a lot to ask in this situation, especially when it's not like a normal situation as to why your head coach isn't here. So I think he's done a great job, all things considered, but actually evaluating him, it's a fair non-answer, my friend. But no, it's a crazy year. I know I liked him as the assistant hire, so I hope he continues to be good. And maybe, just maybe, he's the person that has fully unlocked Denny. Because I want to go back to that real quick. You talked about how he's been the bright spot for you. I mean, that game last night, 30 points, 19 boards, 10 assists. Like, the guy's just going out there all the time. And to your point, too, and this is a good one, I thought it was really funny that Oklahoma City Thunder Twitter was blowing up, complaining that he was getting to the free throw line too much. Like, pot, meet, kettle. You got the biggest free throw merchant in the league. I mean, did you see the massive flagrant foul that Chris Murray committed where he didn't even touch him, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander flew about 15 feet? I mean, come on now. But back to Denny, Tori. He's been absolutely incredible. I don't even know if Blazer fans or Joe Cronin are expected all-star level Denny here in year two.
Yeah, it always felt like it was possible, but purely theoretical. As a 6'9" guy that can pass, handle the ball, and shoot, those are a good combination of trades. But I've always said it's really hard to go from being a good starter that once in a while can have a 30-point game, once in a while can get hot and look like a star. It's hard to make the jump from that to being a true all-star where defenses are game planning for you. You're the number one thing that they're worrying about. They're loading up multiple defenders on you, and that's what we've seen defenses do against Denny Avdia. They're doubling him. They're packing the paint when he drives, and he's still producing at a legitimate all-star level. And last night, going against the best defense in the league, he wasn't making threes. He was 0 for 4 from 3, but he stayed aggressive, and he kept turning the corner. He kept getting downhill and drawing fouls because of it, because OKC is a very physical defense. They're going to foul you, and when you drive hard all game, and Denny Avdia leads the league in drives per game, there's going to be some games where he gets to the free throw line a lot, and that's what stars do. They stay aggressive, and they produce against defenses that are game planning for them is the number one option, and that's why I've loved Denny's play this year. Is not only has he taken that jump where he's strung together a bunch of impressive games, he's continued to do it when defenses are game planning very heavily for him.
Yeah, now if he can just remember in crunch time that his strength is getting downhill and getting to the rim, not taking a step back Dame-esque three with the game on the line.
Yeah, well, I think he's had some struggles late in games with missing free throws as well. With how much he drives and how hard he plays, I'm wondering just how gassed he is at the end of these games.
Well, yeah, with that, a couple of games ago when he gets to the line and misses 5 in a row, you could tell that his legs were just done. He had expended so much energy.
Yep.
And, I mean, he's not a guy who shoots lights out from the free throw line anyway, so you take the legs away and you're gassed. Yeah, it's understandable. It's not great, but it's understandable why you miss a couple free throws.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah. But I do know this, and you've been around a minute. You're a Damian Lillard guy. You know the Dame is sitting there probably salivating, going, "Oh my gosh, next year when I'm healthy, that's the guy I get to play with. I get to play with him." It's probably a pretty nice piece to have if you're Dame.
Yeah, it's funny because the conversation for a while was, how does Portland find that star? Can Shaedon Sharpe be that star? Can Scoot Henderson be that star? Now they have Deni Avdija and Damian Lillard, so hopefully that's 2 All-Stars next year. And they're positioned to make a trade for a third. Like, Portland might have a big 3 here pretty soon if they can swing a massive trade at the deadline, or probably more likely the offseason, because they certainly have the assets to do it. So it's kind of cool to go from wondering who the next star might be to, man, if this team makes one big move, they could have 3 legitimate All-Stars next season.
Yeah, I'll say this too, Tori. Like, I've been big on the Shaedon Sharpe train. Like, I want him to make a jump and be an absolute stud. But say that he's the difference between making that blockbuster deal and not. I think you'd be a lot easier parting with him, knowing that you have a guy like Deni who's consistently putting up these massive games and is blossoming. And yeah, is that all-star type. So I think Deni playing the way he has possibly opened up more trade avenues that maybe the Blazers didn't expect, just because they have that guy that they can trust.
Yeah, I also think with having Dame, Drew Holiday, Scoot Henderson, and Shaedon Sharpe, that's 4 guards that are going to play heavy minutes, and I'm very curious to see if they try and alleviate that by trading one of them, and if they don't trade one of them, how they balance the minutes between those 4 next season.
Yeah, and here's a question I have for you, because I'm curious, and that is, say they go make those moves, they start building, they go in the next year, you have Dame, things are looking good. Is Jeremy Grant still the guy you're looking to get rid of, or has the way he's embraced that 6-man role maybe changed the way you view his future in Portland?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to trade anything of value for him at this point. So I think there's 2 different options here. It's, one, still probably having to attach something to get rid of his contract, or 2, you have him coming off the bench, and he might be the 6th man of the year so far this season. I think option number 2 is much better, because there's just not much that would come out of a Jeremy Grant trade. And this team needs shooting. They're the 3rd worst 3-point shooting team in the league. Jeremy Grant provides that. He fits into the defensive identity that this organization is trying to cultivate. He's been a good veteran. I wondered how he'd accept a bench role, but it seems like he's fully accepted that and bought into that, and he's played really good basketball in that role. So while I wanted him gone the past year or 2, at this point, with him playing the way he is off the bench, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and I've been a Jeremy Grant defender, but also understood that he was a tradable asset. Yeah, the way he's playing right now, if there's a spot for him in that 6-man role, he accepts it, and you can still go get stars in the end. I think you do it, because he makes your team better, especially if you're playing for a championship or a true playoff team, and that's your 6th man. You're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And credit to him. It's not easy for vets to accept getting demoted from a starting lineup to a bench role. So I feel like he definitely deserves some props for that.
No, he absolutely does. The voice you hear me talking to today is a friend of the show, Tori Jones. You can follow him on social at Tori Jones YouTube. And I got to remind everyone, the YT stands for YouTube, right? Tori Jones YT, because Blazers Uprise. Get over there. He's bringing plenty of good content for Blazer fans. Tori, thanks for taking the time, as always, bud, and I'll definitely get you back on. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah, man, sounds good. It's always a fun time. Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you. There you go. There's Tori, and again, make sure you're listening to him. Follow Blazers Uprise on YouTube. They do great stuff over there. He's just a basketball junkie. That's what I love. I love about him. We always talk about how he says his piece on Twitter, and there's people who want to argue with it, but man, the guy just loves basketball at the end of the day. And in my conversations with him, not only does he love basketball, he loves this Portland Trailblazer team, man. So do we. That's what brings us here. That's why we're going to talk about the Blazers all the time. So thanks for taking the time, Tori. And once again, follow him on social, Tori Jones YT, and at Blazers Uprise on YouTube. All right, we're going to take a quick little break here on Courtside Monday. When we come back, I'm going to take a look at this road trip because it's probably tougher than people would have thought at the beginning of the year. I mean, Toronto playing really good basketball. Who would have thunk? And, of course, the schedule does ease up. We're going to talk about it when we come back from the break here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620.
Now back to Courtside with Chris Burkhardt, live from the Coors Light Studios. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Well, welcome back into Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you. As always, you can follow me on social at Chris J. Burkhardt. And, we've had some fun. Blazers had a nice little homestand that we've talked plenty about. Didn't get the dubs, but they did play pretty well against Oklahoma City. Didn't get to advance to the NBA Cup final after that loss to the San Antonio Spurs, but at least they bounced back over the weekend. I thought that Oklahoma City game, they played well. That's exactly what they needed to do. You're not going to dethrone a team who's sitting there at 20-1. They are pretty darn unstoppable. But now, as we said, I want to talk about the road trip. The Blazers embark now on a nice little East Coast swing, as it were, that's going to see them take on the Toronto Raptors, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Detroit Pistons, the Memphis Grizzlies, and then the New Orleans Pelicans. That was a game added here. It's all part of the Emirates Cup, right? The games they throw in there to fill in on the schedule. And so now we get to see what happens to this Portland team because they're going to get tested again. Now, San Antonio, they didn't have Victor Wembanyama, but we know that is a good team, a team that will test you and make you play very, very good basketball to beat them. Even without Wemby, they are a tough team. And then Oklahoma City, they didn't have Isaiah Hartenstein or Alex Caruso. That just meant they just had their main complement of players. No big deal. And the Blazers played wonderful ball. But they're going to have to do that again on this road trip because nothing is going to come easy. You take a look at the NBA standings right now. The Blazers start this road trip in Toronto tomorrow afternoon. And that was a team, okay, they've Pascal Siakam gone, Fred VanVleet gone. Okay, they got to figure their stuff out. They're not going to be very good. They're laughing at everybody right now. They are 14-7. They are number 3 in the Eastern Conference. Third best team in the Eastern Conference, 8-2 in their last 10. They are playing very good basketball. And then the Blazers have to take on the Cavaliers, who maybe aren't playing as good as last year, but are still a 12-9 ball club. They are 5-5 in their last 10, so they've taken their lumps, just like a lot of teams in the NBA have. They're far better than that 7th standing in the East right now. You look at their last games, they took a loss to the Raptors. They lost to the Hawks, who are going out and getting some impressive wins. They're 13-8. They're 5th in the East right now. And they lost to the Celtics. They got wins over the Pacers and the Clippers. Oh, they lost to the Rockets. That's a pretty good team. They lost to the Raptors. Pretty good team, right? So you look at the games they've lost. You can kind of understand why, but they're still a good team. When you get Jared Allen and you get Donovan Mitchell and all their pieces, like they are a good basketball club. Far better than that 12-9 mark. So the Blazers will be tested when they take on the Cavs. In fact, the Cavs are 4-5 on the road, 8-4 when protecting home court. So that won't be an easy task for the Trailblazers. And then they hit Detroit. Now, Detroit, they're not the 20-1 that Oklahoma City is, but they are number 1 in the Eastern Conference. They are 16-4, 7-2 at home, 8-2 on the road. They are also, like the Raptors, 8-2 in their last 10. They have won 1 in a row because they were about to set their franchise win streak record, but they lost to the Celtics. They've lost 2 of their last 3. That's Boston, Orlando, and Miami have been their last 3. The only win they got was against Miami. So, again, they took a couple losses. I mean, 2 of their 4 losses have come in their last 3 games. So maybe they're down on a little bit of a down stretch here, and Portland can take advantage. But that's not the point. The point is those are 3 really, really good Eastern Conference teams that Portland is going to have to get right out of the gate. Then the schedule does ease up just a little bit for your Trailblazers as they go and take on the Memphis Grizzlies, who right now are basically the Portland Trailblazers. They're 9-12. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They're not terrible, but they're not great, right? And that's the type of game that you look at and you're like, if Portland plays the way they played against Oklahoma City, they win that ball game. They just have to play the way they played against Oklahoma City. We have seen the ups and downs of this Trailblazer team. And when they're hot, they are fun. When they are not, they are not. You have to be at the ready on the mark to win some of these ball games. I mean, they're going to be tested. Memphis is not the test that Detroit, Cleveland, and Toronto are, but it's still going to be a test nonetheless because it's a team that I think matches up with Portland because they're right there in the standings together battling for those play-in spots. Then you go and you get the little bit of the, this is nice, against the New Orleans Pelicans. The New Orleans Pelicans right now, 3-18, worst team in the Western Conference, third worst team in the NBA. I don't know when the shakeup is going to happen, but it's bound to happen at some point because that team has massively underperformed year after year. A lot of that is injuries, which is, understandable, but that's a game you would look at and go, Portland should hopefully win that ball game. Hopefully. I mean, last time you went into New Orleans, you won, but it didn't look good. You grabbed the 125-117 victory. That was on the last big road trip there that saw them go to Miami, Orlando, New Orleans, Houston, and Dallas. The only game they won on that road trip was New Orleans. And again, it took a lot longer and a lot more effort than you would have thought. It just didn't look great, but a win's a win. So you take it, it's okay. And so you'd hope that they grab that one there on this road trip. Then they come back home. Another one of those games that was added to fill the NBA Cup gap, Sunday, December 14th, against the Golden State Warriors, a team that the Portland Trailblazers has played twice already and does have 2 wins over. So that does play into Portland's favor. Golden State, though, when you look at the standings, is a team that they might be getting old. Curry might not be what he was during their prime run, but they are still basically a 500 ball club. They are 11-10. They're 8th place in the West. It's just a matter of stringing some wins together for that team. They're going to be a challenge. Portland needs to be at the ready to go. Then you get a double. You got December 18th at home, December 20th on the road, both against the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings, who come in at 5-16, second worst team in the Western Conference right now. And we're just going to keep going to Christmas because then you got 2 home games before a little Christmas Eve and Christmas Day break against, once again, the Detroit Pistons and then the Orlando Magic. So that's the rest of the schedule, a little bit of a road trip. And then what you get at home before you get to Christmas, you wrap up the rest of December home against the Clippers, very winnable. They're not playing very good basketball. Home against the Boston Celtics, who are currently 11-9. So that will definitely be a challenge, even though they don't have Jason Tatum and all. It's going to be a challenge. Plus the return of Anthony Simons to the Moda Center. And then your final home game of the 2025 calendar is against the Dallas Mavericks. Final game of the 2025 calendar overall, not just a home, just final game of the actual year. December 31st, a New Year's Eve matchup against the pesky Oklahoma City Thunder. So the schedule is starting to get to the point where it's going to get a lot easier as you go on. The Blazers have had one of the toughest schedules in the NBA to this point. Oklahoma City has had one of the easiest. Of course, it's easy to look back and say, yeah, they've had one of the easier schedules because they beat every single team they play, so that team gets a loss and it makes them look worse. So I don't even know. What is strength of schedule? It's the NBA. Anybody can beat anybody. But the point is, you realistically look at this schedule, and it does ease up a little bit for the Blazers as it gets into January and February. You're not playing Oklahoma City 4 times and Detroit and all the best teams in the NBA like they've had to this point. That's the good thing. Going to definitely be tested on this road trip, though. Like I said, starting off against Toronto, Cleveland, and Detroit. That's 2 of the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference, and a team that is not at the top of the East, but a team that is still very, very good. And I'm talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. In fact, last year, they were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, 64-18 overall. So no slouch right there, a team that's going to make you work. The biggest question as you get through these games is who's going to be available. You're going to hopefully start to get Drew Holiday back. He's getting close to that 2-week mark of being ready to get back into action, and he's back into play. You have, obviously, a Scoot Henderson who was going to be reevaluated in 2 to 4 weeks, and you're going to approach that window real closely. Matisse Thybulle's going to start getting closer. So you get through the stretch of tough games, and you're going to get closer and closer to a point where everybody's going to be available to play. Everybody's going to be back. And this team has played well enough without their full complement of players that when you start getting that full complement back, I think you're going to have a team that not only has the roster they want, they also have an easier schedule. I think that's when you're going to start seeing this Blazer team start to rattle off a few more wins than they have at this point. And that's going to be absolutely huge. I mean, getting Drew Holiday and Scoot Henderson back would be huge. I know Scoot Henderson hasn't played, but I've argued this all year long that everyone talked about him needing to make a jump this year. No, if anything, he just needs to come back as exactly as he was last year because he's proving his value as a guard on this roster right now. They don't have one. They need one. So they need him to come back. Drew Holiday, without him, they don't have a point guard starting out there. I mean, huge props to City Sissoko, but he's not Drew Holiday. He's filling in. He's doing fine, but he's no Drew Holiday. So you need all those guys. And then if you get, Matisse Thybulle back, that means you have that all-world defender. If you get Blake Wesley back about midway through the year, things start looking really, really good for your Portland Trailblazers. All right, that's the rundown of the road trip. I got to get out of here. The voice is starting to hurt a little bit, okay? This is 4 straight hours of Burkhardt on radio today, filling in for Chad on the Rip City Drive, then Courtside Monday. I got to go get these pipes rested because I got to be right back at it tomorrow. As we said, Blazers start their road trip on the road, of course, against the Toronto Raptors. Keep in mind, for you geography nerds out there, Toronto says, we the North, but Portland is the more North. Just look at the map. They are further north than the Toronto Raptors. Tip-off is at 4:30, which means I will have Blazers game day for you at 2:30. Also, hopefully tomorrow we should be having some news to talk about. It should be a press conference that will be airing on Rip City Radio as the Beavers introduce their new head coach, which is pretty big news down there in Corvallis. So keep it tuned to Rip City Radio for all the latest. That is it for Courtside Monday. I will talk to you tomorrow. As always, Rip City, I love you.